Today is Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. Welcome to the Survivor Fans Podcast. I'm Joanne.
And I'm Stacy.
And this is our recap of the premiere of Survivor 43.
Week 1, our episode title is Living, and that was shared by Cody. Little tattoo he's got on his booty.
'Tis true. Don't know why exactly.
Because he's all about living.
Tiny. But, okay.
I loved that first drop they did into the valley. That was a great shot. I love that for the intro shot.
Yeah.
They were coming around. I don't know if that was the drone or the helicopter, but that was just awesome where they dropped in and then came up behind the three boats coming in. Yeah, it was a great way to start. Okay, several of the castaways got featured. First up, we got some words from Ryan. He was talking about his cerebral palsy and the challenges that he overcame. And then we got Nneka. She's talking about growing up in Nigeria and how that was great survivor training, I guess. I don't know exactly what that means, but that was her spin on it. And then we heard from Noelle. She talked about, losing her leg. And then we got a little bit from Mariah. And Mariah says she's here to make friends. Unlike all the previous people who played Survivor, she's here to make some friends. And I just thought, wow, she sounds a lot like Marianne right there. If I closed my eyes, I would have believed that was Marianne rattling off.
Uh-oh, because I had chosen her to go. I was like, uh-oh. She sounds like Marianne. She might
be the winner.
At the end.
Yeah. And then next up, we got some words from Sami. He's all, look at me. And his different titles. Did you catch that when they were putting, he said, I'm a student, I'm a pet cremator, I'm a entrepreneur, business startup guy, and they just kept tacking the titles on. The editors were having some fun with Sami right out of the gate.
They should have just put, he's 19.
Yeah, well, I think that might have been up there too. But then he tells us he's integerable. He meant saying that he had a lot of energy, but he tried to turn it into one word.
Yeah, I said, not a word.
He's going to be fun. As long as he's in the game, he's going to be doing that. He's going to be fun to listen to.
Yeah, probably more fun than I thought he would be.
But not necessarily for the reasons that he thinks. Yes. And next we got Lindsay, and she tells us that she's been all about Survivor longer than she's known her husband, obviously longer than she's had her kids, and longer than she's had her career. She has been Survivor focused. So I'm excited
I like that.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited she's getting a chance to play. And Karla tells us about how she's had to learn to be adaptable and resilient in her life, and all the things have been thrown at her and what things she's overcame. Cody tells us he plays everything hard and fast, and oh, by the way, he needs the money because he may have already spent some of it.
Okay, that's when I said, okay, if that's true, you're already in trouble.
Yeah, we got a mess in the making for sure there.
Spend money before you get it.
Cassidy tells us there's no waiting for her. She's diving right into the game. And Elie says that she can get people to do things they don't want to do. We've heard that therapist angle before, so we'll see if that's the case.
Yeah, I started liking her more and more, over the course of listening to people talk and seeing other stuff, interviews and stuff. I thought, no.
You're saying prior to the episode?
Yes, prior to the episode.
You warmed to her before this was all kicking off. Got it. Okay.
And during the Jabik Part 2, and I started to think, I bet that she and Owen have a similar energy. I bet they'll get along.
Okay.
Yeah.
And James tells us that he is all about embracing the chaos. And then from Owen, we got like the best part, which was super cool. He talked about how he had imagined seeing his name in the Survivor titles, and they did an old style Survivor intro title for him. That was fantastic. So kudos editors on this, featured Castaways segment, and I love that you gave Owen that title. You gave him that. That was very, very cool. And then we get the landing.
Very cool, but what does it mean? Now it makes me nervous.
Means he wins it all. They're honoring him right out of the gate. It's foreshadowing that he is the sole survivor.
That's who I went with.
He's worthy of a traditional title. I'm pretty sure that's how the
this week I'm not so secure.
I think that's how the Edgic players are going to read it.
Okay.
All right, so we got our landing, and Ellie's talking about how surreal and excited she is. Probst gives him the big welcome to 43. I got like little chills that just hit perfect for some reason. So I liked all that.
Well, we got to see all three tribes together on the beach, and Jeff questions a few people. Jeanine and James and Gabler and Noelle.
I understood Jeanine's. She's talking about when he asked her to explain her reaction, how it had been a dream of 2 lifetimes in their family for her and her father. And she gave a little backstory about,
I remembered that from her bio, but I had changed. We saw the intros. We saw these intros on video. Mm-hmm. They showed them like the little commercial things. And watching her in just that like 2-minute clip they showed of the first few minutes of the game, I totally changed that she was my first one out.
Interesting.
And I totally changed from that same clip, putting Jesse as my USB because he couldn't carry I thought, oh, he's gassed. He doesn't look very strong. Maybe I need to stick with Owen. No? Mm-hmm. So just that little tidbit they threw at us.
These little pieces.
Yeah. Totally turned things around. I'm so susceptible.
James said he had been watching since day one when Probst asked him, and he talked about how important it was to be able to see Earl winning and how that inspired him. And that's Gabler said something odd about something about his kids in his wife's womb, and they watched together as a family. I knew the spirit of what he was saying. It was just the way it came out. It kind of hit funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, it seems like a lot of the things that came out didn't always come out the way he, I think, meant them to. Not just there in the start, but throughout. So
we got to hear from Noelle again, too. She talked about how she'd started watching when she was 10 and how she wanted to play for her mom who couldn't do it. And no regrets for her. Even after losing her leg, she was still focused on getting out there and being a part of what she described as the beautiful game. And she also said she was ready with some leg jokes, too. So she kept it light around the whole thing. That was smart.
Well, I think she was really trying to make other people comfortable with it. And I think she did a really good job of that. Good on her.
Yeah, it shows she's got a meta view of things, which is a good indicator of potential there.
Because it's really not been that long for her to be in that place.
Probst tells them they're going to be tested in ways they can't possibly imagine. They're going to have to let go of their expectations. It's going to change their life and hope. And then he said something that was really odd to me. He said, I hope you stay open to what Survivor thinks you need. I don't know what that means. Do you have a sense of what that is?
The only thing I could think of is that they're not going to give them a lot.
You think it's just that?
And that he hopes they will accept that and go with it and trust that they know what they really need. They don't have to have all the other. Especially when they don't give them any food.
I don't know. It seemed to be taking his role in things and then the production role into a whole different place.
It did kind of sound odd, but that's the only thing I could think of that I thought he meant. But maybe other people have some other opinions that they think. Cause
certainly left me scratching my head. I was with him all the way up until that. To what Survivor, stay open to what Survivor thinks you need.
Well, hopefully Dalton will ask him.
we get the tribes announced, and Baka gets extra points, 10 points for Gryffindor, for Griffin Baka, because they had the most spirit in their response.
I see.
And then we're, boom, into it. Reward challenge. They got to collect some crates. They got to build a cube with those crates. The crates are in 2 different locations. And then they get the magnesium fire starter and a pot and a machete.
If they win.
Mm-hmm.
The winners. I was so shocked at how things went down and who went after what that Geo couldn't even lift the box. He was rolling it. I don't know if he couldn't lift it or he chose not to.
I'm gonna go with couldn't.
But yeah, since the other people
in light of the other guys doing it, yeah.
Well, Jesse did it, but he was struggling.
Both Jesse and Geo were the last to get to the first 2 boxes that they had to retrieve to build the cube.
Well, but Cody got his box, ran back with it, and then went back to help Jesse.
Just as Ryan did. Ryan was super impressive to me because Sami got out with his first of the 2 boxes. Sami and Owen went out. Ryan and Geo went out, and then Cody and Jesse went out to get those first 2 boxes. So Sami got his box, and by the time Sami got back and dropped it, Ryan had caught up with him and dropped his, and then he went back to get the box from Geo.
Yeah.
So Ryan was very impressive right out of the gate.
No more than I expected from both of them.
Yeah, Geo definitely not. And like you said, seeing Jesse get gassed like that, because he just looked done.
I went, oh, no.
And it was Cody helping him.
Yeah. I really was so surprised he was gassed. I don't doubt it was extremely heavy. And for me, I'd be gassed just walking through the sand. So, not to mention running or carrying anything. So, but I just didn't expect that of him. I just thought he would. But anyway.
I had chosen Geo as my person to be voted out this episode. So, this looked very optimistic for me at this stage. I thought, yes, all right, you are failing right out of the gate. I would vote you out. Okay, so for the next 2 boxes, they've got to go out. They got to swim out to a boat, untie it, and then pull the boat back in.
I was really surprised at the people that went out for that.
How so?
Just that some of the women did it, you know. Was it Cassidy and Karla went?
Mm-hmm, for Coco, yeah.
And
Karla was moving. I wouldn't think she was going to move like that, but she was a force headed down that beach. She looked like she could outrun Geo in a foot race, no problem.
Yeah, she might can. Justine and Noelle.
Yep.
For Coco, and then we had what?
Well, Justine and Noelle would be Vesi, the red.
Oh, okay. And for Gabler and Elie went out together?
Mm-hmm. For Baka, for yellow. Yep.
Well, here's what I was most surprised about is when I started seeing Jeanine and Mariah
assembling the crate when they get back
together
with the other 2 boxes. Yeah, for a total of 4. Yeah.
I was like, what?
Interesting choice.
Though.
And that's mainly because you were surprised because.
I thought she would be the first one out because she would be weak.
Justine, right? That's who you're saying.
No, I'm talking about Jeanine.
Jeanine, yes. Jeanine doing the assembly. She was like the smallest, and we thought she was going to be weaker, but she ends up being in there moving the big boxes around to build the cube.
I said all that. I'm not sure what you're after.
Oh, I didn't.
You didn't hear me say that?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what I was so shocked about. I thought, are you kidding me? And here I had chosen Mariah because just that little snippet I had seen Jeanine down, the photos showed Jeanine, Elie, and Owen carrying one of those big things from the boat up there. And I thought, oh my goodness, she carried her side, Owen had a side, and Elie was in the back. And that's when I changed my opinion of who was going to go. I thought, she's not weak.
Jeanine is not weak.
Jeanine is not weak. And I saw also she was directing, and pointing at stuff what to do during that. So anyway, And then I thought, oh, geez, I might be in trouble because Mariah's lifting those things too.
You know who surprised me the most out of the whole
Who?
thing? Cody. Cody's the one who figured out
Oh, yeah.
and told Dwight, hey, put the fire starter into the
Yep.
bamboo because that bamboo's open on the end.
Yep,
And
totally clutch.
that way you can control it because we'd seen them multiple times. They'd gone to slide it up and it was on an angle and it had slid back down. They had lost it. But that was just what they needed to keep it secure with the long piece of bamboo they were using to slide the fire starter off.
Who was it kept saying, that's so smart. That's so smart. That's really smart. And it was.
Yeah. I
Good
don't
on
know
Cody.
who was saying it.
I
but
could.
yeah,
I don't either. I just remembered hearing them
Justine
repeat
or
it over
Noelle,
and over.
but I don't remember who.
But it was like, oh my goodness, that was awesome, and it won it for them. So.
Yeah, and it was a great effort on all tribes, but Cody really nailed it right there at the end.
Not that Dwight and Nneka weren't doing good. It's just that he was the closer in that by that one suggestion, and it really paid off. Because he had been watching Lindsay struggle trying to get it,
Probst tells Baka and Coco that they'll get a second chance to get theirs at camp, but there'll be more work they have to do to get that, just like we've seen in previous seasons.
Yep.
And we get a brief, Lindsay's featured briefly, rather, talking about how the failure was a wake-up call because it looked at first like she had it in the bag.
Oh yeah,
They got there
were gonna
first,
win.
got it assembled first, and she was had it up close to the end, almost got the fire starter off, and then lost it, and then never.
I think probably multiple times that happened, but anyway, yeah, that would be an eye opener when you think you've got it in the bag. But they got their pot, their machete, and their flint, and they can just go back to camp and start doing their shelter or whatever they choose, fire and.
Vesi, yeah.
Yep, and the rest of the people, however, have other things to do. Okay, so they go from that challenge to Vesi tribe and Cody and what? Yee-hoo? I mean, yee-haw, we know, but yee-hoo?
He's feeling alive, he tells us.
Yeah.
And he
I
binge
thought,
watched.
He looks like a party.
binge watched Survivor during the pandemic,
Oh, okay.
and that told him that he could win, so he applied.
Okay, well, and now he realizes he can not only compete, he can win. Look at me go. And I thought he seems to have endless energy. Goodness.
Dwight is quick to recognize that no one there on their tribe has construction experience.
We need to build a shelter and everybody's crickets.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
He takes the machete, but he proves ineffective with it at first.
Well,
so.
and his parents told him to learn how to make a shelter.
I like that. He's like, oh, I'm going to have to
He said, I
answer
watched
for
a
this.
video.
Yeah, I got it.
I watched a video. No problem. And yep, I'm going to have to deal with this when I get home.
Yeah.
He knows that's the first thing. We told you that. So I thought that was cute that he
We
shared
get some
that.
nice shots of whales as we make our way over to the Baka tribe, and starts off with Gabler telling us that there is a group of beautiful people here on the beach, and they're all 20 to 30 years younger than him.
Yeah. Now Sammy's willing to do the physical part, no problem. But Owen
Physical
figures,
part of
yeah,
what?
but of the
We didn't describe it yet.
oh well, by all means, go ahead.
So the second chance,
I see.
they have an opportunity to either choose a savvy challenge or a challenge where they'll have to sweat. For the sweating challenge, there's a big square of the beach that they'll have to dig in to locate their supplies. Or for the savvy challenge, they can move 2 bones. So they've got a set of bones laid out on a table, and they can only move 2 of the bones, and they have to form the largest possible whole number with those.
And they only get one shot at it.
Yes. Sami immediately volunteers to dig after looking at the 2 options. And Owen's like, shh, no. Because if it's
like,
you, it's me.
no,
and I
that
don't
mean
want
I
to
have to
dig.
dig.
I don't want to be isolated.
Exactly. that shows he was already strategizing that not only did he not want to do the sweat work, he did not want to be isolated from the other people.
Yeah.
And them be able to strategize without them even being around. And frequently, that does happen. If the two that are down working, the others make an alliance or something. So that was smart of him to think of that.
Right? They get turned around and gets them focused on taking the savvy challenge. They're going to work on that number.
But it bothers me just a little bit that he doesn't want to work too hard. But I thought, well, we'll see how that plays out. And as long as he can do it in challenges, I guess it'll be fine.
Similar sequence plays out over at the Coco tribe. We see Ryan volunteering, much like Sami, to dig. He was ready to dig.
Yep.
And James's response was, no, no, no. Because if it's you, it's me, and I don't want to do that.
Then Geo volunteered.
Yes, and flipped the script. So...
Which I think was smart on his part. He's like, hey, I couldn't carry the crate. I dropped the ball there, so I'll pick up the slack here.
He has so far,
I can dig.
He has an unrealistic opinion of his abilities. Because they show him digging for a few minutes, and then he gasses out. And Ryan's working on it, and he comes up with the idea with, hey, let's do an X inside this box. And we'll divide it up that way.
Which tells us he's smart.
He's thinking. He's trying to optimize.
I believe he said work smarter, not harder.
And so he starts doing that. Geo seems confused, unable to visualize the X, perhaps. And then we get another visit with Ryan. He talks about the cerebral palsy, how his mom stuck with him, took him to physical therapy for 4 years after the doctors had told him that he may not be able to walk. And he described what it was like, the stutter in his brain, the 2 seconds of echo, the delay that he experienced, things like that. But then how he was able to overcome it. And lo and behold, he's able to overcome this challenge. So not 30 minutes into it, digging on the X, he has located their supplies. Yeah, worked out.
Though you got to think there's still got to be a good deal of luck involved in that as well.
Oh, absolutely.
So
yeah,
but
you could have drawn your X, and it could have been not on the X, and yeah.
But it certainly made for a good story.
Yeah, it all played out well, and he claimed the luck too, so he's happy with that.
Well, he was one of my favorites anyway. Okay, back over to the Yellow Tribe.
What'd you think about Sami?
Well, I get that he doesn't want them to know that he's good at puzzles or that he's smart at, he kind of wants to play that part down. But I thought it was really cute that he couldn't stand it. Mm-hmm. He's like, we need a shelter. I don't want to be out here in uncomfortable without a shelter. I'm just going to solve this thing so we can get to the shelter. So he figured it out in no time.
Well, it was close enough. Yeah, I think Jeanine really locked in on making the number as large as possible.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so with him as a catalyst.
Well, I think he handled it really well, all right, team effort, and we did it, and I thought, okay, that's great. That's what you want to do. So everybody feels good. And this is when he tells us that also that he's not going to tell anybody he's 19.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that's probably a very smart move. And he does seem older.
I agree.
In some ways.
I agree. I just don't believe he can pull it off. I think he's going to slip up.
See. Well, that's what I said after we said that during the commercial. I said, yeah, but if he doesn't say something later on, not thinking about that specifically, and it's a tell-all that, hey, wait a minute, you can't be 22 if you just did such and such,
Uh-huh.
So if he
says survivor's older than me, or
yeah,
because he was making comments about that he was his oldest survivor, so maybe that was part of his plan all along to say he was 22. And I thought, well, you're having trouble doing math there, Sami.
Well, maybe not. Maybe that was it all along. We just weren't privy yet.
Yeah.
But I guess I like him a little better than I thought I would. But I expected him
Certainly
to be a
entertaining.
powerhouse.
Yeah.
And he is that. Okay, where are we going now?
Over to the Vesi camp. All this is still happening on day one. Got a lot of content over these 3 days.
Yes, we do. I love it.
Cody's making a hat.
Cody's making a hat?
Yeah, he was weaving a hat with the palm fronds.
Oh, I missed that, I guess.
Yeah.
I must have looked away.
And Noelle's happy that she's on the Vesi tribe. And she's gotten good with Justine because they're of a similar age. I guess they're vibing.
Mm-hmm. She tells said
us.
They worked well together, and they were so excited about winning the first challenge and not having to do the extra work.
Yep. And then cut over, we see Cody and Jesse and Nneka talking. And they decided, hey, they're good to go. Here's 3.
Yep. But they're already nervous about those 2 girls, so they're not hiding their closeness.
One in particular. What did you think about how Cody did all this?
I thought it was smart. Very smart on his part. And especially since he is in sales.
Yes.
And he's so he
decides he's going to target.
How salesmen are.
He's going to target Justine because she had told him that she was in sales, and so he says, fear those salespeople.
Yeah,
they are good
you
liars.
Can't trust them.
Good yesers. And then he's like, I'm in sales, but I'm not going to tell them that.
Not telling them that.
Yeah.
He said, well, that's why he knows people in sales could be good liars. Yes, so.
Jesse's happy. He's got options. We see that we just saw him talking to Cody and Nneka, and then they show that he was making some plans with Justine also. So he's got different alliance options presenting themselves.
They're doing exactly what they should be doing right now. And, I don't know that everyone that's in sales is a liar like he's trying to make it, but it's certainly doing its brain trick on the other people.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the best liars are in marketing, but the sales folks are right on up there. They're certainly professionals too.
Yeah, but I don't think you can judge all people in sales or marketing that way. So, but it is a stereotype. Okay, Elie, Mariah, and Jeanine are weaving palm fronds all day. They said they've been doing that all day while the guys are working on the shelter.
Yep. Gabler, Sami, and Owen.
Yep.
We see Owen's anxious, get an opportunity to walk off with someone, ends up being Gabler, and they make an agreement, if I hear your name, I'll tell you. And
yeah, same thing with Elie and Jeanine too, I think. Well, I'll let you know if I hear anything. So maybe some of them let him know.
Yeah, Mariah and Elie are connecting.
Then Elie tells us a story about her sister dying from an overdose. And that hasn't been very long ago. So
nope.
Before she went out there.
Yep.
And so she kind of bonded with the other 2 girls over the storytelling and the compassion she felt from them. And so that was good.
Yeah, they all hugged and then committed to some girl power after that moment.
Yep. Then we'll go over to the Coco tribe. They're building a shelter.
Ryan's eating an earthworm, but he tells us it didn't taste very good.
Yuck. He's that desperate already for a little protein.
We saw another castaway do something like that. What was it in? Was that Worlds Apart?
I don't know.
Well, he ended up winning, so
I don't know who
could be foreshadowing.
To. Okay. Cassidy tells Karla she likes her. And
We're
Karla
dating.
likes her right back.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's the 3 ladies have an alliance. And Lindsay was trying to kind of lead some of that negotiating for alliances there. She seemed to be leading that and pulling James in. She wanted to work with James.
I really liked that she didn't settle for 3, that she went ahead to get a majority.
Yeah, gotta have a majority. Not everyone does that.
Yeah.
They'll get one other person and go, all right, we're going to the end. But, I liked that about her. She seems to be sharp. So,
James is on board. He tells us his name of his company's Good Vibes Only, and he's good vibing out here in this alliance with the three women. I like that he did a little of his backstory about the chess thing and winning the chess tournaments and traveling around doing that.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
finished off by saying that he wants to be the king, but he's okay with looking like the pawn
He'll
at this
look
point.
like a pawn, but,
Yeah.
but he gonna
That
be
totally
the king.
works. Yeah, that was a good line.
Well, maybe, but
Yeah.
well, and it's double insurance, I think, for Lindsay, for her to be the one to connect with him,
The pivot, yeah.
so that if she needed to and something happened, she would hopefully be able to hang on longer.
Another path, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Good on her.
All right. Back over to Baka.
Gabler is struggling here on day 2 with the fire starter.
Yeah, he has not impressed me much.
No. It's classic. Just so they chose him for all these reasons. They're like, oh, he's one of these. There's the talk and then the walk, and they don't match.
That was a reference to a song, but I know you probably don't know it.
Sami, he just can't have it. He says, I know fire. And by the way, when I cremate your pets, I'm not killing them. Okay, Sami, we didn't need that. We understand the concept, but Sami knows fire, so he gets it going where Gabler couldn't.
And what Gabler does tell us is that he knows he's the oldest and he needs to make an effort to really bond with them on something. So he starts, spending time with people. And it seemed to work with Elie, about the music.
Except she was posing.
Yeah.
She was basically just referencing things her sister had told her. Mm-hmm. But it seemed to work. It was enough for a connection. They both knew Mastodon. Maybe he knows Mastodon better. And then she went to the punk side. They started off in the heavy metal and then went to punk, I guess. So. Well,
but I guess what really surprised me on the exchange was that she really was thinking of working with him. She's leaving that as an option. So it's like, okay.
And he awkwardly delivers the let me know if I can help you in any way, or which is essentially the I'll let you know if I hear your name and you let me know likewise thing. But he seemed to fumble that out there too.
Next we go over to the Coco tribe, and Gio and Karla are bonding because they're both Latino and they're both gay. And sadly, Gio tells his story about he doesn't have his family anymore because of it. So
right.
That was sad, and Karla could bond with him over that, even though she didn't say that she wasn't connected with her family. But I'm sure she can certainly sympathize with that. And she seemed to be so shocked, thinking she'd be the first one out. And now she's like, I don't know. They want to work with me, and they want to work with me.
She's got the most options on Coco, right?
Yeah, it seems to be right now.
It was her version of that, but certainly that seemed to be the case.
Yeah. So, okay, I thought she would be seen as kind of a devious and a villain, but that hasn't cropped up so far. So that was the vibe she was giving off with the things she said she was willing to do and all of that, so... But, okay.
Over to Vesi, we get to hear some of Jesse's backstory about the history with the gangs and how he was able to find a way out of that through some great programs that they made available after he did really good on his GED test and got him some visibility. And then we get Cody sharing his living tattoo on his butt there.
Yep.
And he was showing it.
They were discussing tattoos.
Yeah, she was asking about tattoos, right?
Yeah.
And, she was asking about Jesse's tattoo on his arm, the shark, where the shark was eating the world or whatever it was. And then Jesse said, but Cody's got the best one. He totally set him up for that. Mm-hmm. So that's our title for this episode. It came right at that moment. And I was super disappointed to see Justine destroying the fire starter.
Yep.
She was shredding that flint. And we've heard in previous seasons that they'll give them new ones if they destroy one like that. And hers was already almost, I'd say, 80% gone, the flint.
Well, the worst part was she wasn't getting fire.
That was funny too, right?
They were letting the guys build the shelter, which might be a mistake too. So
well, the shelter collapsed.
The roof collapsed.
Yeah.
So
and then they got fire.
Pretty much on their head.
So one of the sparks caught while she was sitting there not destroying the flint.
It was the breeze. The fire got air as the roof fell in.
There we go. And then it went back out again. Okay, then we get a boat arriving. And my first thought was, okay, here we go. Shipwheel Island, part 3.
And yet it was different.
It was different. It was the same
Which is
general
good.
concept.
They didn't have to make that long trek. That was just wrong. Of course, I don't know if it's any better out through the water, but that's a tough walk out through there and all that.
Well, especially...
on your feet. No.
Yeah, the way it ends up. Let's go through it real quick. So when they come back from commercial, we see the boat land at Vesi, but when they come back from commercial, they're over at Coco there, and they tell us that it's day 2 for that boat arriving.
Yeah.
And ends up being Karla that goes for Coco, even though we get a brief moment where Lindsay talking about she needed to put herself out there and take chances. But
yeah, she didn't want to miss it. It would be awful to get out there, get a chance to play, and then miss this opportunity,
right,
and not get another one. Get voted
but it
out.
didn't break her way this time.
No, it didn't. So.
And then we go over to Baka, and it turns out it's Gabler going. Sami says he's okay with that. And then we come back to Vesi, and Dwight ends up going for them.
Yeah, and they're like, you want to go. So
yeah, Cody was already aware that Dwight was a super fan, so that's out there. Cody mentioned it.
Yep.
So we got Karla, Dwight, and Gabler heading out there, and Gabler. And Karla's telling us she's having to calm herself constantly.
Well, that's what made me think. Didn't you watch the last couple seasons before you went out there? I mean,
yeah, you started really doubting that she was aware.
Wait a minute.
Of 41 and 42, huh?
What do you mean you have no idea what
this could be? What, didn't you automatically think Shipwheel Island? So didn't appear to, huh?
No, and that makes me think she never saw.
To your point, it was pretty treacherous going out there. They told us it was mossy and they were slipping. At least at one point they had rigged a rope for them to hold on to. I bet you that was because there was some current. Because that looked like a place, depending on where the tide was, that you could get in a jam pretty quick.
It really is dangerous to fall on that kind of... Some of that stuff is really sharp.
Well, and not even just fall, but you could turn an ankle super easy in that kind of scenario. That seemed... It didn't seem quite deep enough for them to float, although at one point Dwight said that it came up to their necks. So I would have just been swimming at that point. So they got to go out to the big rock, and then they've got the same basic setup out there. Risk your vote or not. You got to decide first if you're going to risk it. And then I guess a slight twist this time is that there's only one advantage.
I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And that the two risk takers then again had to play it a second time. And they don't get to find out till they get back to camp whether they got the advantage or lost their vote.
Gabler tries for a bluff, but it didn't work. Dwight's in. He wants to take a risk, and Karla's like, no way. My vote means too much to me.
Yep. So she kept her vote.
And she was happy with her choice.
They went back to Tribe, went back to Vesi.
Great shot of an octopus there on the way back.
Oh, it was.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
I was thinking, boy, you guys should be
like on the title.
One of those. That would be yummy.
Well, that's also part of the logo, so it was a good shot of the octopus like on the logo there.
Well, true, but I was thinking of them gathering food already.
So we head back to Vesi there on day 2, and the little title says that they are now 30 hours in with no fire, and Cody announces that he is bleeding again in his attempt to start it.
And he's trying, though. And they were all switching off. They said they were all trying. And that was good, that they were all trying and could see how hard it was. But Justine finally got it.
Yep.
Did that redeem her in your eyes because she finally got it?
Redeem her. Oh, well, it was a good moment. But no, you don't destroy the fire starter like that. What that says is you don't know what you're doing.
She's your USB, right?
Yes.
Okay. I thought so.
Yep. But so, no, that's not enough.
But she says that's one thing she gets to check off her survivor list.
Could totally understand that part.
Yes.
And now Dwight's back, and he shares all the details. What do you think? Got another season where everybody tells everybody.
Well, I thought they were believing him because he was telling the truth.
Yep.
And then, of course, Cody, I don't believe him. I don't trust him one bit.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. And I thought, oh, Lordy, I guess that's just going to happen regardless.
Yeah, that's a no-win situation when you go off.
It is. If you go out there, you've put a target on you. Okay, and Gabler tells them the truth, too.
Now it's time to find out who got what.
Yeah, so he thinks, sharing is going to build trust with them. So he wants to be honest, and then they go off and find out who won what.
Yeah, so Gabler ends up with
his victory yell, telling everyone that,
an ambiguously worded
yes, it was ambiguously
response
worded.
Because it said that he's got an immunity for the next 2 tribal councils. Because the way it was worded, I thought, oh, so he's just guaranteed a path through? No, it's an immunity idol that expires after the second time he takes it to a tribal council.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what I'm certain that it is. So.
Well, especially since Jeff didn't just out of the blue announce that he was safe and couldn't be voted for. So, yeah.
Exactly.
But the wording really jumped out at me. I thought, wow, that is ambiguous.
You jumped ahead.
I jumped ahead?
Yeah, you said Jeff didn't ask. You went ahead to tribal council.
Oh, okay. You got me.
And, even the one with
Dwight?
Dwight. The one with Dwight was a little bit ambiguous as well, the way they worded it. But
well, actually, I thought that was a good attempt at a qualifier, so that it would get rid of it. So I took it as a different way. Okay. It said you risked and lost, and you can't cast any votes at the next tribal council, and you've lost the effects of all vote-related advantages.
Well, yeah, when we read the small part and zoomed in on it, sure. But, the first part I thought was ambiguous until we read below.
Yeah, the thing that was confusing was votes plural.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we highlight. It's like votes.
So whereas his reconciled and we understood it and got more clarity with the extra qualifier, the one that Gabler had just didn't come across as clear
that is
to me.
'Tis true. All right, let's move on to the immunity challenge.
So there's a big obstacle course. They've got to collect 3 balls, and then when they get to the end, there's 3 possible balance puzzles they can choose from balance boards. And so you can only choose one of them, though, and they've got to land those 3 balls on the balance boards. So what did you think about this?
Well, number one, I thought it was awesome that 2 tribes were winning immunity.
Oh, yeah.
Number one, because, we didn't know for sure whether there'd be 1 or 2 people going. So I was glad to see that they spent the time, on the camps and the people and not on 2 different challenges and tribal councils.
Right.
So that was number one. But I liked that basically they got rewarded by how quickly they could get to the end to make their choice.
Mm-hmm. And that it wasn't a puzzle. A lot of people get bummed with all the physicality that someone can be a great physical tribe and show up and lose it because they can't do a puzzle at the end.
I think they're listening.
This was some dexterity that you often don't see to end game after people aren't thinking as clearly or able to do as much physical work. But for me, the thing that I really enjoyed was it was a big challenge.
It was. Just
multiple stages
and
required lots of teamwork, and we got to see that play out in different fun ways.
The thing I didn't like about the final challenge portion,
the balance board,
that 2 people had to do it.
Okay.
It almost seemed, in some cases, it would have been easier to just have it where there was one person to balance the board.
Yeah, but this way with two, it's more difficult because you have to coordinate.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I like that.
I didn't like it being that. It's like, wait a minute. Though it did create issues, which I guess is what they were after, between people. You know, like Dwight telling Gabler that, hey, I need your help on it.
That was Sami, not Dwight. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right, I'm mixing up names now.
I like the idols. I like the two idols. They looked really cool. And classic at this stage, the losers got to give up their flint so they could end up losing fire at their camp. Time to get muddy. First one, they got to crawl under that net.
Oh,
and then
that
just
was
get
awful.
Covered in mud.
You can see even the great big guys were having trouble pulling themselves through that mud.
And then they had to go dig through the sawdust and untie the 3 balls that they needed for the end from a post that was buried in all the sawdust, so that the sawdust collects just stuck to
the
them.
mud.
Yeah. And then one person from each tribe had to go out and dig under a big log. I was really surprised to see Jeanine go out for Baka. And I could understand it. She's so tiny, and you would think, oh, well, she would have to do the least work.
Well, you know, I first thought everybody would have to go under, because that's usually the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
I could understand it more when I realized, oh, only one person has to go under.
So,
they thought she's very small. She can dig and go under really fast.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't work out that way.
No, Ryan just blew through there. The biggest person out there, too.
Oh,
so just the opposite end of the spectrum from Jeanine. He goes out for Coco and just flies under that thing, at least the way the edit made it look.
Yeah, yep.
And then Cody wasn't too much behind him, but a good bit behind him. But Ryan really got Coco through that quick, and then picked up the machete and dropped the wall that they needed to climb up for the next obstacle. And that's like one of those walls from a Spartan challenge where you got to help each other up. Someone's got to be an anchor, and you climb up on their hands and then step on their shoulders to get up.
Do you think that James got so much mud in his pants?
Is that why he was dropping his drawers?
I thought, well, surely your pants wouldn't be that big going out there.
On day 3.
Is just day 3.
Yeah, you ain't lost that much.
You ain't lost that much weight. Come on. And but he lost them. That's why he dropped. His pants fell off.
Might have been embarrassed.
Down around his ankles. And then he pulls them back up. They do it, and while they're pulling him up, they fall down again.
Ryan comes down to help James get up after James had been the anchor getting everybody else up. So Ryan drops back down, gets James up, and then comes up behind him, and he tells James, pull your pants up.
You pull your pants up now. He got you up here.
Yeah.
Come on. I was just like, goodness gracious, how do you lose your pants?
What was next? They had to go over a multi-stage balance beam. That was a balance beam like we hadn't seen. It wasn't.
Well,
we've seen them be crooked.
Of course, went over it as a
effortless
single. And then once he got over there and did, he got across, then he could open it up into a double. But who was it that followed?
Lindsay,
yes.
Yeah.
Lindsay went across too before it got widened.
To come help. So they had to undo some knots and to get a bar or a lever so that they could flip the
And then the other
thing.
people went over pretty easily.
Yeah.
And
but that initial version of the balance beam, before they flipped it over and made it flat, it had multiple levels, like 3 or 4 different heights that you had to accommodate as you went over.
Yeah, and it didn't seem, we thought with her artificial leg, maybe Noelle would have a problem crossing over that, but she didn't seem to have any at all.
No. I was thinking because of the way sometimes she has to move, she has to do sort of a sideways thing to pull it in front of her. I thought, I wonder if that's going to make it hard. But no, she was able to just straight walk it across, no problem. It didn't cause her any grief. So.
Well, I imagine with all the running and the competitions she's done that she's had a lot of practice.
Mm-hmm.
And
I guess I just had picked up on how she was running on the beach in the first reward challenge when she was going through the sand, and she was having to bring her leg around to the side a little bit, I think, to clear the sand as she went down to dive into the water, I thought, oh, that's going to be awkward on the balance beam. If
but she was running in the sand.
Got to swing it around.
Me barely walking in sand. It's very difficult. I mean, it's kind of fun, but it can be difficult.
So what'd you think about Coco's choice? They get to the blue team. Coco gets to the 3 balance boards.
I'm not questioning any choice they made
and chose the big maze.
They made it work.
Lindsay looking at it, yeah.
Obviously, they chose well.
End up with Ryan and Lindsay working that at the end.
I thought she held her own pretty darn good. You know, her arms were pretty strong. That's not easy to hold that up like that.
And for Vesi, it ended up being Jesse and Noelle. And they were having a lot of difficulties with theirs. They took the straight shot, was what Probst called it, where they could roll right down to the center, but there was only, the rails were like left, right. They weren't continuous, so it wasn't an easy shot down there.
But I thought it was obvious that it was Noelle that dropped those first 2 balls. That she dropped her side or something, threw those balls out.
Maybe.
Or not
you
getting
can't
in.
really tell when there's 2 people on the handles.
That's true.
But Jesse ended up doing something different. He got behind her, I think, so he could compensate and be the final control.
They both did it. She was in the front and he was behind. And they both had their hands on both sides.
Creative.
And they kept it very more stabilized that way. And I thought it was
She got the right touch after that, it seemed like.
We don't know whose idea it was, hers or his, but it was very creative and it worked.
It did seem like she had a better sense of how to do it. Both of them did from there.
Yeah, because I don't think they did it that way every time. And so I think it taught them a little bit more about how to balance it.
And Sami and Gabler were struggling. And Sami basically got more and more frustrated with Gabler. He was throwing accusations his way that Gabler was goofing it up.
That's never good to be throwing accusations like that, I don't think. And there's always a learning curve with things, and some people learn faster than others. So.
At one point, Sami exclaimed, "You're fighting me." And then after that, Vesi won.
I'm trying to help him.
Yeah. So Vesi got second, Coco got first, and Baka is on their way to tribal council. Now, you were pretty happy at this point. I had Geo going, so that went out the window for me first.
Yep.
And now you were hoping an opportunity for Baka to go to tribal council, and sure enough, they could not get it together.
Yeah, well, I was torn because I like Owen and I like Elie, and, you know, I thought, well, I didn't really want to see the tribe, but even before the season started, when I looked, I thought, I think the yellow tribe might lose. I was fixated on that from the beginning, so I figured I'd be wrong. But and I almost switched over to the orange tribe. I thought, nah, the orange tribe could lose, and I did that, and I thought, but I didn't know who would necessarily go home, and
so I've been seeing red. Is Vesi actually orange?
Oh, it's hard to tell. No, I think we dubbed them red. So we'll stick with red, but I may say orange from time to time. And so if I do, you know, I mean the red tribe.
Okay.
So.
And Sami tells us just before they head back, we get a quick cameo with him, and he says, well, the game's got to start now. We hadn't been talking any strategy. So, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, do you really think there was that much kumbaya? They seem to all say there was.
I just was stunned by what Gabler said when they got back.
Oh, yeah. I thought, good, vote him out.
Yeah, he says, I was part of the loss, so therefore I'm going to take a shot in the dark. I won't play my immunity.
Well, that goes into a lot more into a loss than just who didn't finish the last segment because that was a whole lot of things building up to that last segment. So
yeah, poor Jeanine who rubbed her chin raw trying to get back out from under that big log she got stuck under. She set them way back, and then Gabler and Sami couldn't get it together. So.
Well, and again,
too bad they didn't try the big spoon, little spoon technique.
That showed Sami's youth to be able to, and to me, just lack of sportsmanship to You might have a word afterwards at some other, but to say things like that during the challenge, you're voting against me, blah, 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 blah. It's all your fault, basically. And that's not helpful.
But Gabler's decision to throw himself on his sword.
Yeah, that was just, in my opinion, stupid.
I now think even less of him in the context of the game.
Totally.
After doing that.
Actually, it just kind of soured him for me. I'm thinking, what
kind of knucklehead move is that?
To play? What are you doing?
If Elie wasn't there to straighten you out, and she did, I guess, to her credit, as she described in her first video there, she can get people to do things they don't want to do.
So. But I don't know. Him taking that attitude makes me feel like, she's going to get tired of having to do that.
Owen
after a while, if
Elie
he continues to do that.
Put their focus on Mariah as the target to leave.
I don't want to hide behind my idol. And what was the whole thing with, I'm going to play the shot in the dark? What? Why? Aren't you hiding behind the shot in the dark then? What? How does that make any sense? It didn't to me. Did it to you?
No.
Okay. Whatever. That set off my...
Mariah's not going easily, though. She's working with Sami, and then we see her working with Elie and Jeanine, too. So.
Well, here's where I got nervous. I'm happy when they're saying Mariah, because I had switched to her when I realized I didn't think Jeanine was going to be the weakest.
Mm-hmm.
I switched over to Mariah from what I initially had down, and I could not believe they then said Owen, my USB.
Yeah.
I switched from Jesse to Owen because it was one or the other of them.
Now you're conflicted. You got what you wanted. The yellow team lost.
Wait a minute.
Now
I'm going to lose my USB on the first night. I was like, no. And even if I didn't lose, I thought, obviously he wasn't as well liked as I thought he would be. I thought he was going to be easygoing, but they're afraid of him somehow. Sammy's afraid of him because he thinks he's smart.
Yeah, it's kind of classic. Yeah.
Anyway, and probably for Sami, he's probably the closest to him in strength, and he probably wants to be the strongest.
Jeanine's been running the numbers, and she's thinking maybe it might run guys versus girls if they take Mariah out. So there's
it was Mariah that brought that up. Mariah said that. That's why Jeanine got a little fixated. She was all for getting rid of Mariah till Mariah pointed that out, that, hey, then because of this, the guys could pick the other women off, and so that got her and Elie. It affected Elie too.
Yep, it seemed like a possibility that it could be Owen going.
But at least Elie considered that she and Jeanine had the power to decide who got the vote to go.
Tribal Council, night 3.
Grab your torches and get fire.
I liked they showed how much Owen and Elie were enjoying their walk into the Tribal Council. They were just eating it up.
Okay, here's what really... Seriously, do you think they really... I don't know why they didn't show us this ahead of time. Did they really think they were going to be the final 6? That's that would...
Talking about what Sami shared, about how life was a joy and everything was harmonious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and they were going to be the final 6.
That seemed enough
just knew it.
To shock Probst a little bit.
Well, it did me too. I was like, what? Okay, well, good on your positivity. And Gabler then saying, well, we were supposed to win today. And then Probst's like, what?
Yeah, that whole participation trophy thing seemed to be going full blast. Mariah was all in on it. We won today because we tried our best and gave it our all.
We gave it our all.
You lost.
Yep. And then Sami starts talking about moral victories.
Which is what they were describing, yeah.
Yeah. That will just end us and keep sending us back to Tribal Council. No moral victories here. So he wasn't with Mariah on that. And Owen wasn't either. He said, I've had enough moral victories in my life. I need to win.
Basically, he's saying he's lost plenty of things in the past.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to continue.
Need to do that.
Yeah, doesn't want to add Survivor to the list. Which was funny since he was on the line and potentially didn't know it.
Okay, what do you think Elie was trying to convey when she said, well, who reached out to me first, that helps me with trust. Mm-hmm. I was like...
Well, she started that segment of her response to Probst by saying that she wasn't interested in punishing someone who took a risk by doing a certain portion of the challenge that would potentially make them vulnerable.
Yeah,
and so
Gabler,
she was going to make her decision off of who made that social connection first.
Yeah, but I thought that was the girls. That's how they showed us.
Yeah.
So that I think they were trying to make us think that they were going to vote Owen out.
Janine chimed in and said that she needs somebody who's going to like her back. She needed a reciprocal response for the alliance there. And then they talked around in some metaphors about getting texts and phone calls and blah, blah, blah.
And Owen says somebody may wish they'd sent out a few more texts. Maybe him.
Yeah.
And maybe they shouldn't have been so kumbaya.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay the kumbaya tax now. And Gabler held the idol. So... no idle play. The votes come in. Mariah won.
And no shot in the dark.
Mariah won. Owen won. And then Mariah. So it was unanimous for her.
Yep.
So the castaway who came in with the intention of making friends gets the first boot.
Yep. Well, I was just relieved my USB didn't go home. Even though I did get the vote out, but I wasn't even thinking about that because I was so relieved.
Way closer than you expected, yeah.
Yeah, it was still a little nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
So, I can't say I was really thrilled and enjoyed every minute because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose Owen.
Yeah.
I just did not expect him to be on the block that quick.
What'd you think about the episode?
Loved it.
Yeah,
Loved
it was a good start.
2 hours. Huh? It went quickly. I liked that we got to see a little more interaction. Just loved it, all of it.
Got more with, we got a little bit with everyone. Who are your standouts after the first episode?
Wow. I'm really liking Elie. I told you earlier today I was considering Owen or her.
Uh-huh.
But I
thought... for USB, yeah.
Yeah, because somebody had said they thought a woman would win, and you thought Justine, and I thought, nah, I didn't agree with that at all. But I thought, well, Elie could.
Yeah, but you got a thing against Justine because you think she's walking behind you and wishing you would walk faster. They completely polluted your perspective.
I should have never shared that with you. I just thought it was odd that I was being judgmental because it's something I strive not to do. And I thought, you're being really judgmental. Why are you doing that? And then I thought, oh, because I've been walking so slowly with my cane.
Somehow
and
it
I don't know
about Joanne.
I was offended by that. And so I'm moving as fast as I can, but you're going to play that to death, so I shouldn't have even told you. But anyway, I think Elie looks better than I thought she would. Jeanine certainly looks better than I ever gave her credit
Even
for.
with the raw chin.
Even with the raw chin, she is a little go-getter.
Yeah.
So, I tell you what, if she and Elie stay together, they could
do some damage.
Some damage.
Yeah. Sami was better than I expected.
Yeah, he was, and I
still some really stellar knucklehead moments, but there's some other.
But
really
he is
good.
at least thinking.
Yeah,
he is thinking and strategizing. I don't like what he's thinking because he's going against Owen. But if they'd bring Owen in, and I think they should get rid of Gabler. I think he's just going to drag them down in the challenges.
Now, you would think it would be easy to say, well, he's guaranteed to be there through the next episode, but we just saw him willing to do something dumb, so next time they might let him.
Absolutely. Or they might blindside him if he doesn't play it.
Okay, next up, standouts on Vesi.
Standouts on Vesi. I really liked Cody and his abilities.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to get him targeted.
Uh-huh.
I always thought that was going to get him targeted. But it depends on what alliances he forms. Because Dwight and Jesse can't do it on their own. So it just depends on the alliances made. And I don't know that I'm totally sure who's with who in that group.
Definitely impressed with Noelle. So she really brought it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I always thought she would do well, at least to the challenge they showed this week was the one I was most concerned for her to do, because I didn't know how well she could do the challenges where they had to climb up.
According to Probst, Kierhofer's really bringing it this season. So there's more of these big challenges in our future. I'm excited for that.
Well, now I'm not worried about her. I think she can handle it.
Yeah, you would think so, based on the performance that we got in the first episode here.
She was stellar.
How about Coco?
Very impressed with Lindsay, and she does seem to be able to kind of get people to kind of lean her way. We'll see how that goes.
I love James's energy.
I love James and Ryan.
Ryan was a beast, and I was impressed by Karla, and I didn't think I would be.
Yeah.
So
we didn't see much of Cassidy. Wasn't impressed by Gio.
Oh no. I felt like I called that right. If they had lost, I think it would have been him.
Yeah, I'm not sure you're not accurate.
I don't know if he's going to be able to do, play cockroach like Romeo did. But he's like, you can see like he's cast in that same role.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still on the fence about Cassidy as far as...
Yeah, we didn't get to see...
We didn't get a lot of... I don't know if that means she'll go out soon or she'll be there a long time or something. But we didn't see a ton about her. But, I liked pretty much everybody else. James and Ryan, Karla and Lindsay.
Anything else you want to say about the first episode?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay.
If I do, I'll say it in the listener feedback. Let's go to next on.
There's a storm coming.
Yep.
At least at Baka, they were worried about it.
Baka's all cuddled up, trying to stay warm.
Gabler's hurt. He's got his pain face on. And he says the game is blowing his mind, but he looks like he's hurt his leg or his foot or ankle, something.
It's not his age. I just am not sure that he should have ever been out there. It just doesn't seem to
they love
suit
that
him.
Stereotype. They love that somewhat clueless older guy who very well could be the title of the next episode. A curmudgeon is a stereotype they like.
Yep. Okay, Karla is telling us the guys think I'm with them, but I got the girls' alliance.
She's feeling pretty good in the women's alliance there.
Yep. So even though I thought Lindsay might call the shots, it might be Karla.
And Cody is looking to jump off a rock. It's got nothing to do with the game.
No,
And then we see some back and forth between Dwight and Jesse, I think. Although that could be some creative editing.
It seemed like more Dwight, but...
Dwight said, God knows what Cody's doing. And then Jesse said, well, tribal lines are clear now.
Getting clear, yeah.
And then Dwight ends with, our first target's Cody. Gotta do it, he says. And we get to see Cody do a big can opener off the rock that he was so excited to jump off of.
Yeah. I do think he's an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, well, he certainly said that. And
he
why
is.
else would you have living tattooed on your butt cheeks if you weren't up for living?
And Mariah says it's heartbreaking to be going, but she's proud of how she played.
I think she's in shock. People are in shock always say things like that.
Yeah, you got to say something, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
All right.
How about a JSFL update?
There were 44 people who got the 2-point first off bonus for...
Sweet.
Yeah, for Mariah going home. And so therefore,
good job, Joanne.
44 people tied in first place. Mm-hmm. There were 42 people who lost a save point, and one person lost their USB 24. I'm sorry. It could have been me. All right, 9 people are in the side challenge for this season.
9.
With
Excellent.
6 points, Chris and Jeremiah are tied. And then with 4 points, Cold Mike, Justin, Nikki, Parker, Rebecca, Robert, and Stacy.
Okay, so it's basically the 2 people that got the vote off, correct? And then the rest of us that got 4 safes.
Got 4 safes. Yeah.
Okay, good deal. How about USB? How did that break down? Who's the most popular Ultimate Survivor bonus choice?
I was not alone this evening in being nervous because the number 1 person is Owen, with 57 people choosing him for their USB 24. Jesse got 47 people. Elie got 24. Justine 22. Lindsay 21. Cody 20. James 16. Jeanine 14. Ryan 9. Dwight and Noelle got 8. Karla got 7. Nneka got 6. Gabler with 5. And Sami with 5. Cassidy 4. Geo 2. And 1 for Mariah.
Oh. You had said that, but I guess I didn't connect the dots when you said it.
It looks harder when you see it here. It's like, oh.
The one person that believed in her.
Yep.
That is unfortunate. Well, there you have it. That's our recap. We've done all the big strokes, what happened there. Now we're going to turn it over to the super fans. Next up is the listener feedback show. And that feedback's due Saturday, noon Pacific time, but we love it if you can get it in earlier so we can start prepping it and getting everything ready, normalizing all the audios and getting stuff written up. We're looking for no more than 3 minutes worth of content, whether you write it yourself and send it an email to joanneandstacyshow@gmail.com, or you call the voicemail line at 206-350-1547, toll free if you need it, 844-643-8737. Or you record your own audio. That's the way to get the best quality, generally, in a quiet place by yourself, and then send it as an email attachment.
Why are you looking at me as you say that?
That's got nothing to do with that. I just looked over in your direction. You don't do voicemail, so I'm not talking to you.
Yeah, I know. Where are you looking at
We're looking forward to hearing from you and your thoughts on this first episode. Who really stood out, and who are you cheering for, and who are you thinking is going to be the next to go? We've got another episode a week from today, and it's going to be 90 minutes, so it'll be an hour and a half.
Yes,
that's
yay.
Nice. Yeah, 2 hours and an hour and a half, and that part's great. I mean, they've got the other part all bungled up with 26 days and some of these goofy
but at least
challenges.
We get this in the beginning.
Yeah, so that part is working. That part, you're giving the right thing, which is...
I would like for the show...
know the social element more.
To do that every week, at least 90 minutes.
Yep, we can always we'll keep hope alive for that.
That works for me.
Yeah, good deal. Anything else?
No, I'm good. We'll see everybody back here on Saturday.
Have a good one.